Auburn basketball has just defeated the USC Trojans, coming all the way from out in the West Coast by the score of 91-75. Obviously, some big names in this game, but some big performances by the Tigers. We're going to talk about that here. This is our reaction stream. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As you come into the stream, wherever you're watching from, however you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, smash that like button for us. It's a big help in terms of helping us grow this little family within the Auburn family, and it helps the stream get off to a great start. You can even do that on the replay if you're watching the replay on some of the other formats out there. Whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, we're doing that live right now too. And several other places out there. Do that for us. And post right now in the chat where you're watching from. We'd love to know who's here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. Let me set the table for us, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of everything. Auburn wins 91-75, beating the USC Trojans. And if you didn't know, LeBron James's son. And if you didn't know, Dennis Rodman's son. And if you didn't know, the #1 draft pick in the entire country. At least that's what it seems like it would be. And some other prominent players, too. It pretty much was the USC talk about show and broadcast, even though they were getting their butts handed to them. A little bit too small throughout the game. Just goes to show you that talent doesn't necessarily mean you're the best team on the floor. The Tigers humble the mighty USC Trojans in fine fashion in Auburn Arena. I'd love to get your obviously very happy impressions and thoughts about all this. So get them going, keep them going in the chat, and we'll talk about that. Usually what we do is kind of talk through some things that stuck out to me personally, just some points about the game, implications, and then we'll look at stats, individual, team, otherwise. We'll bounce around through a bunch of those different topics. We want to talk about a lot of those things. I want to say hello to a lot of you that are checking in. Got a lot of people that are checking in on uh, Instagram. We're doing that live now too. So for those of you that are tuning in over there, thanks for hanging out. We'll try to check in on both. It's a little bit different of a way I have to manage the system, so it may be a little challenging to do so, but we'll try our best to get all the comments and questions from all the different formats that we're broadcasting right now. We got a lot of fine folks here. WT, Neil's here. He says that Charles was there. Michael, Corey, a lot of fine folks that we're used to seeing here on our streams. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And I'm going to give a shout out especially to Thomas from Leeds. Charles Barkley was at the game and wanted to discuss with the broadcasters, Jay Williams, and I didn't remember the other guy's name, what was going on the plains this season with this team. And Charles Barkley being from Leeds, I want to give him a shout out. It sounds like, Thomas, he's heading up to Leeds after this game, so you might want to, be looking out for one Charles Barkley rolling into town very soon after a big win. I'm sure he will be fired up in a special way. Neil says, I'm fired up. My hatred for the USC Trojans is deep. I think we all have a lot of deep-seated issues with the Trojans. We obviously harbor a lot of that in relation to football, and not just probably because of what's happened with us, with them in football, but what's happened with um, just the string of good luck and good fortune that they've had over the years. It kind of just sets you up to not like them very much. I mean, they're from LA, Hollywood, all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like they're the upper echelon. Everybody else are the peons. Whenever they get humbled a little bit, it's a little bit nice. But regardless of, we're gonna have fun and poke fun at USC in this stream. But I do want to point out that this is a very talented team. If you didn't have to know it from the names alone, LeBron James' son, Dennis Rodman's son, Boogie Ellis, who went on a tear against us last year in LA, and then Collier, who will likely be one of the top draft picks. We'll say, if you had listened to the broadcast today, they talked a lot about how probably be the #1. So that's incredible talent. Now, if it comes together as a team, it could be very deadly. But right now, the Auburn Tigers are the depth and the team that is succeeding the most right now. That team should have stayed in their wow, Corey. That's such a bad joke. Corey's joke was that team should have stayed in their wooden horse, and that is pretty rough of a joke right there. Let's see here. Lucio says, having Bruce Pro is such a blessing. I hope he coaches 40 more years, and his son is going to be the next Auburn coach to keep it going. I don't know that you're going to see Bruce around for 40 years. You'll probably see him to the end of the decade, which is when his contract, a lifetime contract, runs out. And then he'll see him step away from the program as head coach. It wouldn't surprise me to see him almost take like a, I don't know if it's ever done in basketball this way, but like a head coach emeritus role where he's not handling the day-to-day operations, but kind of almost becomes the CEO of it. I know that's just wild speculation on my part, but that would be not shocking to see him kind of move into some type of role in that mannerism right there. Um, Devin says, thought it would be closer, didn't realize USC was 5-4, now 5-5. I think that's a deceptive 5-5. They have had a lot of injuries. You know, Bronny James even had his, I don't know if it feels weird calling it an injury. It is an injury, but he had the cardiac issue that had the big scare when the news went around the country. So glad to see that he's able to play again. Um, Still going to have fun with him, when we can to make sure that we let the son of his royal, I don't know, you call him his royal airness now, you call King James. We're gonna let him know a few things when he comes to town. So what I saw from this team is exactly what we've seen over the last a couple of games is the depth really shining and really showing out. For the last two games, you have heard aside from this one, heard very little from Janai Broom today. He has a much better game, but still not up to what we're used to him. But Auburn is not faltering. How many times have we talked about in the past that Auburn, when their star one or two players doesn't go, aka Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith, remember that tournament game where they just have a, the unheard of off game together, they fall apart. Here, you've got several players in double digits. You've got the bench producing, you have got the starters producing. Everybody who hit the floor, I think, had a moment tonight. Everybody scores a point tonight. A full team win at home in Auburn Arena. And by the way, I know that y'all have handled this on X/Twitter. National media, we have been showing up for our home basketball games in that manner, those lines that you saw, well before Bronny James went to town. Ain't nothing that Bronny James did that made this some extra special event. We didn't even camp out. When I say we, I was like I was out there. The students didn't even camp out this time. Maybe some did, I don't know. More power to you in the weather that's been going through the South who did that. Uh, but this is not anything extra special. Devin points out what we mentioned, 11 players scored, 5 in double digits. Absolutely fantastic team, and it wasn't a tennis match. Yeah, that was fun. That was a little funny comment earlier. Kevlar points out that Auburn wears teams out. They can't focus on any one player with our team. And that's true home or away, but when you combine what the jungle does for Auburn at home with what they do as a skill set as a team, that's a deadly combination, and you're not really gonna have a strong chance to beat Auburn at home. You'll have a chance, but it's not gonna be a strong chance. So if this is how they're gonna perform as a team at home throughout the year, I feel pretty good about our home record, even moving into what's gonna be a challenging SEC play. USC, when you look at their record, their injury issues that they've had, not being able to coalesce on the talent yet, you kinda look at this win on paper and go, "Yeah, it's a big name, but it's not a team that's really formidable outside of just fearing the talent yet." Give it time. They might be able to put something together, especially talk about Boogie Ellis, Collier, Ronnie James. They got Rodman's son there. I don't know how prominent he is for them. Were there any USC fans there? I feel like there's always some. I wasn't there, so I can't attest to that. Anybody watching, that might be attest to that, let me know, especially those of you on, the Instagram feed right now. I always forget the hard part about this, as you can tell, I'm looking down a little bit more. We're changing some things up with the stream, trying some new things, so I have to remember to look up into the camera to you guys and also to check the Instagram, um, feed as well to see if anybody wants to comment over there. EKW, absolutely dominant from beginning to the end. I completely agree. Really happy with Denver Jones's free throw shooting down the stretch in these games. He helped keep USC from making a run. Yeah, I looked up at about, I think it was 7.5 minutes left, and they were at 15-point deficit. And I thought, you know, if we don't clamp down here, we might find ourselves in a bit of a fight at the end of this game. Luckily, we did that. I wanna look at Denver Jones's free throw 6 for 6. He might get the player of the game just because of that alone. You know how much I love free throws here, you know how much I value that, so that's a you know how to sing to the soul of this basketball player by talking about free throws. We'll look at some of the overall stats as a team in just a second. Alright, your leading scorer tonight, Aiden Holloway, especially with that last 3 that he nailed. 15 points, 5 for 10 from the field, 4 for 7 from three-point land, 1 for 2 from free throw land, 6 assists, 2 personal fouls, no turnovers in 23 minutes of play. 8 total turnovers for the team. Chris Moore had 1, Denver Jones had 1, KD had 3, leading the team. And then Trey and Danny Johnson all had 1, and there was a team one too, meaning that they couldn't attribute one particular player. So really, really solid performance as a team taking care of the ball outside of KD and his wild self at times. I got super excited when KD Johnson got matched up with Bronny James. You know he was loving that prospect, and thus he got a foul real quick because he was super obviously into that. You can tell we've kind of reached that period for Katie where he's, like, so hyped up about stuff that maybe he kinda plays a little bit too much, but I'll still take Katie Johnson anytime, any day, and twice on a Sunday because he is just a nightmare for people when he is on, especially the other team, even if he makes us pull our hair out sometimes. I still love him, though. Aden Holloway is your leading scorer, as I said. Jalen Williams, it's interesting, Jalen, at the beginning of this game, really took over. He had 8 points within 5 minutes and, a dunk, a block, he was passing the ball really well. He looked like he was about to have another SEC player of the week type of game. Now, second leading scorer tonight, 6 for 9 from the field, 2 for 3 from three-point land, 3 rebounds. He, had 2 assists as well. So a pretty solid stat line for him, not an SEC player of the week type of stat line, but definitely a very solid stat line for Jalen Williams. And you know how much I love me some Jalen Williams. So very proud of him, proud to see that he is continuing to play at such a high level for our people. And yeah, he's pretty cool. Kevlar says we had 2 hook and a holds called us. I have to admit I had forgotten those were even fouls. Yeah, I think they've put some more emphasis on that uh, this year. It sounds like at least the frequency with which they're calling it more. I think, it's a counteractive to remember last year, they got super protective of giving three-point shooters in general room to land. They always have been, but they started getting super protective of that as well as the leg kick out thing. I think as both of those things have gotten to be more enforced the last season, there's been this, kinda gamesmanship of if you're getting kinda pushed down, but maybe they're not gonna call a foul, kinda drag them down with you and make it look a little bit more presentable to call that foul, even if it's a little bit late to call. So, that there could be some of that going on, but it didn't really matter much at the end of the game for us overall. Holloway, 15 points. Jalen Williams, 14. Kind of going in order here. Denver Jones with 12. Very solid stat line for him, which we already talked about. Cardwell tonight and Janai Broom both have 11. Both of your bigs with 11 points. Janai showed up at some pretty good moments, but kind of again a calm night for him. Better than the last 2 games, but nothing to really the standard that he set for himself at Auburn to write home about. Dylan Cardwell, though, was him at points tonight, flying all over the place. Over this game and the last 2 games, 2 players that have really raised their stocks in maybe scouts' mind with the eyes of the scouts there are Dylan and Jalen. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Dylan is gonna play in the NBA, but if he plays with that type of energy, the character type of guy that he seems to be, and is showing that type of athleticism and production, He might get some looks if he keeps playing like that. Very happy to see the 2 of them, 2 bigs producing the way they did. The rest of your scores tonight, Chris Moore with 3, Katie Johnson with 5, Trey Donaldson, Chad Baker-Mazara with 7, Leor Berman with 3, and Chaney Johnson with 3. Everybody getting in the action, everybody getting in the mix. Leor Berman, I think, even had a block tonight, if I remember correctly. So he's starting to see more minutes, not a whole lot, but more. He only had 8 tonight, but he's becoming very effective with the very few minutes that he's getting right now. So you gotta love that for a walk-on guy who doesn't play a whole lot in the game. All right, what else stuck out to you guys? What else do you wanna talk about? We won't spend the entire, time talking about this. I know the excitement is now already starting to wane on the win because it's such a rout for most of the game. I don't even remember, did they even have a lead? Yeah, they had a lead. Michael brings up what was not fun about last year. Boogie Ellis destroyed us last year, but, I think we tried to slow him down this game. Well, I mean, if you didn't, he was just gonna do it again. You saw him have some flashes of what he did last year. When you combine that with the talent that they had on this team, even not even talking about Bronny James, you had the potential for something to become very destructive even at home, especially a guy like him himself. Who's the leading three-point shooter for the team so far? That's a great question, and that is not something I have. I'm sure I can find it out. I don't have easy access to that at this moment, but I'm sure that that is can be easily found, somewhere on the internet. I would bet it's probably Aiden Holloway, followed shortly by Trey Donaldson. Because the thing that you're asking about who's the leading three-point shooter. Are you talking about percentage, or are you talking about points off 3 points? If you're talking about points, it's probably Aiden. If you're talking about percentage, it's probably Trey, because I've seen him be a little bit more selective, and Aiden's been a little bit more quicker to shoot off the run. All right, that is individual stats. Let's walk through the team stats too. We've got 48% from the field for Auburn. Almost 1 out of every 2 shots they took tonight was going in. So that's, you shoot 50% at home, you're gonna have a hard time not winning this game. USC didn't have a terrible game shooting, 40% for them. Neither team had a bad game or an outstanding game. Auburn a little better. 3-point shooting, 32% for USC, 38% for Auburn. Free throw percentage is more in the favor of USC, but not by much. They hit that 80%, 81 to be exact mark that I talk about and harp on a lot. Auburn just under that with 78. If Aiden Holloway doesn't miss his free throw, you're a point guard. We are probably above 80%, which is my own personal thing right there. Do we crack the top 25? I honestly don't know because I haven't looked to see where we fell in the voting ranks, like how many votes we had. It probably just depends on who won. USC, like I said, it's more of a name. I would equate this win right now to UConn, that UConn won several, years ago, probably about 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point. I think it was on the road. We beat a UConn team that hadn't reassembled their talent, or they had kind of, but they hadn't coalesced yet, and so it wasn't as impressive other than the name. Now, it's more so the way Auburn is winning and playing currently. They're not squeaking by wins, and so to me, that might be what launches them, and this is just the icing on the cake. So, good question, and they will probably find out when all that, I think they there's some other rankings, like the net rankings from KenPom that kind of get updated every day or so. You might see us in the top 25 there. Donald, there we go. WT was guys found it for us. Donaldson has a 40.9%. Holloway has a 37.5 for 3-point percentage on the year. Who's got the most points off the 3-pointers? Let me know that. So I was right that Trey is the better percentage-wise 3-point shooter. And granted, Trey is getting a few less opportunities because he's playing slightly less minutes than Aiden. Did he play slightly less time? Confirm that. Aiden played 23. Donaldson played 16, so yes, a significant amount of, so that kinda helps you as well. I'm currently looking at ESPN's website, and they are highlighting Bronny James of all the highlights. Well, they know it gets the clicks. And look, I feel like we do this too much sometimes, but I'll point it out. Broadcast again was good at times, bad at times. There was too much focus on USC and Bronny James. Like, and just talking about USC's talent. Look at the talent of what's happening right here at Auburn. It was almost an afterthought that they had to like remind folks Auburn's whooping up on USC right now. We look at turnovers as one of the big areas to determine if you're going to win. 15 for USC, and they had a lot of turnovers early. So calm down a little bit for them, but not by much. 8 for Auburn, and then we also look at rebounds. USC actually wins this one, 38-35. So not a significant margin. To me, that's a push. So pretty much two out of the three categories I focused on, Auburn wins. And actually, I just lied. I had flipped those in my head, a little dyslexia going on there apparently. USC won free throws and won rebounds. Auburn won the turnover battle. To me, they're close enough to be push situations, so even though statistically they won, it's not as Rhodes pointing out we moved the ball effectively and played better defense, and we played at home too. All of those factors are what kinda negate some of the areas where you didn't technically win those stat categories. Michael points out we're currently 8th in KenPom. Don't know how much this will help us in the KenPom. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We shall see. All right, a few more stats from team-wise, and we can hit other topics and questions that you guys have related to this game, related to this team, what's coming up next. We'll hit all of those in just a little bit. Last few team stats maybe to mention here. Bench points, pretty even, 30 for USC, 36 for Auburn in their favor. Points in the paint, 42 for Auburn, 32 for USC. Blocks, Auburn had 7 blocks, 9 steals, 18 assists. We always look for a stat that tells the story of who won this game. To me, you're probably looking at that assist ratio, how much Auburn shared the ball. That's reflective in how the scoring broke down across the team, not one or two guys dominating everything. Again, Holloway's your leader. Jalen Williams was 14 right after that. Denver Jones, Cardwell, and then Broome also in double digits, and then everybody scored tonight. So to me, the stat that you focus on tonight is the assist and how everybody shared the ball with each other. So those are the significant stats, team individual wise. We've talked about some stories, things around this game. What else is on your mind that you want to talk about from this particular game? James, good to see you. Thanks for being here. We're all hanging out here just talking about USC and Auburn. Michael told us that we were number 8 in KenPom, USC was 40. So to me, that doesn't really help us a whole lot in that regard. If this had been on the road like last season and gotten that win, woo, we probably would be moving up a lot right now. So I know that's where everybody's focus is right now, is where are we going to be in the rankings? That's going to take care of itself if we can continue to win and win the way that we're capable of. Uh, Only time. It'll be a matter of time. I'll let that take care of itself. It is an interesting thing to point out that both USC and Auburn are about to play Alabama State. Now, USC is going to Alabama State. No offense, Alabama State, but USC's coming to y'all. How'd y'all swing that deal? And then Alabama State's coming up to us. Not that you can take a lot away from that game, but it'll be interesting to see how the two compare for both of these. Are we really seeing a hiccup before conference play? You're asking, will we see a hiccup before conference play? We could. Let's pull the schedule up real quick. Let's take a look at it. I'll pull it up and we'll talk about it. Um, Alabama State coming up, Chattanooga, 10. Sometimes those Ivy League teams can be a little bit pesky. That's at Auburn too. And then that'll do it, folks. That is all you have left. I don't know if you were asking if there's going to be a hiccup left after this game. I don't really see it necessarily. That in game's probably the best one, best opportunity, but all the other ones are at home. A hiccup could be coming against Arkansas in Fayetteville to start off with. Hey, we start with Arkansas, Texas A&M, and LSU. gonna be tough. If you were, not certain about what Auburn's schedule was coming up, so there you go. Kentucky, Tennessee, Ole Miss are good too, so those are 2 to keep in mind. I was just looking at what they showed me on the screen right there. All right, we have hit major stats, the major talking points, but if we have not discussed slash, talked about something that you'd like to talk about from this game, put it in right now in the chat. Don't wait. Let me let you know what's coming up next. We've got a busy, busy, busy week before Christmas here coming up. Hope you all can join us tonight at 9 Eastern Time for the final Auburn Experience podcast episode live recording of this year. We'll go on our holiday break. Episode 60 tonight with Austin and myself. We talk about everything. We'll probably be talking about those football schedules and looking back at the year that was for Auburn stuff, sports, all of it, sports, culture, and family in that show. Later this week, we will be doing a reaction stream for signing day, early signing day to be clear, because they get mixed up now. That'll be sometime in the afternoon on Wednesday when the class has been quote unquote finalized for that signing period, or at least that day. And then later that night, same night, we'll do our call-in show and continue talking about that and much more things. And then finally, a post-game stream right before Christmas starts on the 22nd. Join us for that after the Alabama State. And there's probably even more stuff other than that. That's just live streams for you guys this week. So I hope you can join us. Hope you can be part of our little family within the Auburn family. Uh, well, I do hate that you won't be able to join us tonight. Enjoy the dinner and take some time off for yourself. It is the holidays after all. Kevlar says, great weekend with Auburn winning and Alabama losing. Those are the 2 best things that can happen at the same time. So we'll continue to watch that. So in summary, Auburn beats USC significantly 91-75 in Auburn Arena, taking down the mighty USC Trojans with all the talent, Bronny James, all of those other names we talked about, Boogie Ellis, Collier, one of the top draft picks supposedly, and makes a statement at home. Need to finish out strong in non-conference before we begin conference play. And your big leading scorer tonight, Aiden Holloway, but right close behind James. Thank you all so much for joining us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Appreciate you spending your afternoon with us, and hope to see you at 9 Eastern Time on this Sunday evening tonight for the Auburn Experience, episode 60, big show ender. See you then. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.